no one will actually be rooting for you to have these kids back to back. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sherelle. Thank you for tuning in. So I talk about how I've been pregnant for like 3 years and how that journey has been going. And I've been kind of documenting it, but not sharing so much of it publicly. And so now I feel a little bit more comfortable because I'm getting a little bit more sleep and I'm getting my footing now that they're both sleeping through the night. If you've tuned into this video, you probably are either considering having another child after you've just had one, or you probably are already, have a child pending, baking in the oven. But here's my thing. I've heard from many moms, down to my nail tech, and I don't really have a nail tech, but like the woman I met at the nail salon who did my nails that one time a couple months ago, right? My Irish twins are exactly 12 months apart, but I've heard that it's rough for any mom out there who have had 2 children back to back, even if they're 2 years apart, 3 years apart, because having kids are raising children. It's a task. It's definitely a task. An amazing one, a beautiful one, but it has its challenges. There's a few things that I've actually learned now that I'm a year into this. No one will actually be rooting for you to have these kids back to back. My doctor, as I was nearing the end of my second pregnancy, with my son, with my youngest son, my OB comes up to me and she's like, yeah, let's consider getting you on birth control when you have him. And I'm like, geesh, lady, can I have him first? You pushing birth control, and I don't know, I'm thinking about life. But she was explaining to me it really takes a toll on your body when you're having babies back to back like that. And so, she was really cautioning me to just consider it and how fertile I was. Because if I was to get pregnant again, I could become really sick and it could be a really rough pregnancy. And I must say, starting with the pregnancy, I don't think my pregnancies were really bad. I definitely saw my holistic practitioner. I will link her information below. She is amazing. I just love her. When I tell you that from my first pregnancy at 21 to my last or most recent pregnancy at 29, they were totally 2 different pregnancies. But I will say, with working with a holistic practitioner, I could tell the differences between my first one and my last one, and I feel like I bounced back much quicker with her help, along with my regular appointments. The stages of pregnancy were rough for quite a few different reasons, right? So I will say this. So you have this young baby who's already so needy, who's already new here, who, solely depends on, mom, especially if you're breastfeeding. And I was breastfeeding. And so I had this breastfed baby that was strictly breastfed for about 8 months, and 6 months into her, our breastfeeding journey, I'm pregnant again. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like, well, what do I do? I have this milk. This is our thing now. I wanted to breastfeed a little bit longer. Well, I got that chance to because I breastfed 2 babies. So there was a lot being taken out of me. I definitely was cautioned to, by, I believe it was 14 weeks, to stop breastfeeding so that I wouldn't be drained of my nutrients, so that the next baby can definitely thrive in a good environment. Another thing, like I stated earlier, you have this baby that's depending on you, and it's kind of like, well, sorry, I'm tired. Babies don't care about that. They don't understand. You're tired, girl, you better come change this diaper. Please play with me. And so I had to find ways to actually play with my child, but from the bed. Imagine COVID, morning sickness, I'm, homeschooling. It was crazy. It was madness. I'm so thankful I was homeschooling during that time. And not to say I was thankful for COVID, because, it's a disaster, right? But I was so thankful that we didn't have to get up and go. And when school shut down, I was so excited. And I know I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that I was happy that the school shut down, but I really was. Having to pack up a newborn baby, get my 7-year-old son ready for school at the time, and out of the door, and pregnant, and morning sickness, and traffic. Like, I was done. I was so done. It was just a lot. I was thankful to actually have this like second pregnancy when everything was shut down. You have to find creative ways to keep your newborn baby entertained and actually cared for while juggling your pregnancy, juggling everything else, when really you want to lay down. You're much more tired during pregnancy. And so during the second pregnancy, I would say, I definitely noticed that I was very tired all the time, and like up until the end of the pregnancy, I didn't even really get my energy back like you would if this was just a one-off pregnancy. But I played games like peekaboo, put lots of toys in her crib while she was able to play and sit up. And I mean, I deferred to the other parent. Like, I found different ways where she could, definitely keep herself entertained. I think it was a good learning experience for us both. I mostly deferred to my husband for a lot of help because, I was just tired. So as soon as he came home, I made no apologies. I just said, hey, I'm tired and I want to go lay down. And he understood. I mean, come on now. Like, we just went through this. So it's nothing new. Another thing that they do not tell you is that, like, once they start to get a little bit older and they are able to play with one another, depending on the age and depending on your twins, I will say the age gap, you can kind of start to back up a little bit when the other one is sitting up and, having independent play. You can sit from afar and they entertain each other. So it's not all negative, right? I mean, no, you may not sleep for the next 2 years. No, you won't sleep at all. But you get these pockets of time where, even if it's 15 minutes, you start to introduce them to playing with one another, and you can actually teach the older one how to be gentle and care for the younger one. And I don't mean give him his bottle and change his diaper and watch him and make sure he's safe, because honestly, they're both babies. Obviously, you can turn your back for a second while you're in the room to fold some clothes up or pick some things up and not have to worry oh my goodness. And once again, that's, your babies more than I do. I'm just talking about my experience. People on the outside actually wonder how you do it because, they know how hard, parenting is. And my sisters and I, we have much wider age gaps. It's 4 years, 8 years. And so, and that was still a lot. Any type of age gap would be a lot, but I think it's even more compounded when they are stair-step, when they're back to back. Of course, they'll grow up together. That's another positive thing. And I can actually see it right now. They get on each other's nerves. They know how to push each other's buttons in a weird sibling kind of way. They were playing in the playpen. I had put a couple of toys in there, some building blocks in there for them to play with. And my baby just kind of leaned over to the side. I guess it was, he started to have a shift in his nap time. And so he took a nap much earlier than he usually does. And, I guess I was okay, well, let's just see what happens. And so my daughter, who's the older one, she takes a blanket and gently puts it just over his butt. And she just continues playing and she doesn't bother him. And I'm like, okay. Now, I won't trust that, that she won't cover his face. But I will say that it was just a beautiful thing. She watched me actually care for him. And it may be different because she's a girl. And I feel like girls move a lot faster in different ways than boys do. Developmentally, we all know that's science. So just seeing how she tries to be the second mom to him, I think that is just such the cutest thing. But then at the same time, she, will revert and just be like, hey, I'm a baby too. I want attention too, and try to compete with him. Another thing, I will say this, definitely get contraptions, get playpens, get something to keep them contained. And why do I feel like no one tells us this? I say it because When I go to visit with family, I make sure I always have a playpen, and I call it their apartment. And I say that because like I put a couch in there, like a baby couch, of course. I put a little couch in there with maybe a blanket, now that they're 2 and 1, and maybe a few toys. And I say apartment because I want it to be a space. I mean, they're going to spend a lot of time in there because, I only have 2 hands, right? And as a stay-at-home mom of 3, I'm outnumbered, especially when I'm doing homework with the oldest one. I'm trying to feed the youngest one, and then the middle child is trying to climb, she's trying to climb up stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? Go into your apartment. That's what I call it. Go into your apartment with your book. I'll put on a story for story time, and give you your snack. And it's somewhere comfortable. I mean, when I say I make it comfortable and it's an apartment, I give her a pillow to prop herself up on. She can sit in there until like the end of homework, until the end of me washing dishes or getting something done. And I notice when I go to family or friends' house, the times that we've forgotten that playpen, we've forgotten their apartment, it's been rough. You feel like someone's knocked the wind out of you because, you're grabbing this one, you're grabbing that one, you're trying to keep this one contained, and you're trying to keep that one from like climbing up something and getting hurt, because they're kind of at 2 different, well, not kind of, they are at 2 different, developmental stages at life. Like one is exploring how to climb while the other one's exploring texture. And it's like, okay, are you really going to be able to catch one from falling while you're trying to scoop the whatever dust clump out of the other one's mouth? No. But if you can find different, like a swing or like a walker or a bouncer to put one of them in, or even a high chair, you can securely put them in while you tend to the other one, it's such a lifesaver. Sometimes in the mornings, it seems like I'm leaving out of here with like half of our house because, without these things, like they're never going to take naps while we're out. They are not going to be contained, and they may actually hurt themselves. And that's not what I want them to do in any environment outside of our home, and especially in our home, because we spend a lot of time here. And the last thing is that they will not be on the same schedule, at least for the first year. This is my first year, and I may come back and do like year 2, year 3 as I see things change or even stay the same. But their schedules are similar, but not the same. My baby goes down to sleep, and because he needs more naps, I'm just sitting here like, well, maybe, at one point, it was probably about a month, if I'm honest. One point, they were taking at least one nap around the same time. But my 2-year-old, she's learning, she sees her older brother, and she wants to get into so much. She's learning how to climb out of things. She's learning how to be Miss Independent. And because she already thinks in her mind that she's like the second mom of the house, she thinks that she's really helping me out. And so she sees, her brother crying, and she's like, oh, like you can see her walk over to him. She's giving him a bottle. And you're like, oh my goodness, that's so kind. You are so kind. And I reinforce, thank you for your kindness. You're such a good big sister. Whether or not she understands it, I just want their interactions to be as positive as possible, because they have to, live with each other. Like they're so close in age. They're going to be doing a lot of things together at the same time. But nap time is not one of those things. One goes down and then the other one stays up. And so what I'll do, I won't force the other one to go down. I'll put one down to sleep, and the other one, I may give her time for independent play where, she's in the same room as me. I'm watching her and she's playing, but I'm not interacting with her until, and I'll probably do that. And I've done that probably, before her nap, so that she's starting to wind down and she's not overstimulated. And so I'm actually finding my footing by not trying to force them to do the same things at the same time. It's very similar. They both take naps, they both eat, they both sleep. They're both teething at the same time. And it's a lot of things at the same time, but because they're not twins, they're 12 months apart, they're at 2 totally different stages. I have to start potty training, my 2-year-old. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should wait until I'm potty training them at the same time. But I'm like, you know what? No, she can't wait. There's some things that you realize you cannot wait on for the other baby to get there. And so you got to just go with the flow, or at least that's my style of parenting. I'm not trying to force the younger one to feel like he has to catch up, because he already wants to do that. He already wants to keep up with his older siblings. I mean, that's just nature. That's natural. Like he wants to walk. He wants to get into whatever they're getting into. I even see him mimicking like the things that they're doing. I mean, you know, because he's interested. They're having so much fun. They're walking, they're climbing, they're, you know, talking. And he's like, I'm just sitting here. Like I'm standing, but not really. I'm crawling, but not as fast. What are some things that you have learned or you're learning on your journey? Please let me know in the comment section below. I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation. Definitely check out my mom blog and follow me on Instagram. I think I just said a lot. I did say a lot. I'll just put it all in the description box. So you don't even have to worry about all of that. Until next time, bye.